Very excited. I met this guest at I don't know if you mind me telling, a sober comedy show ran by our friend Zane Helberg, and we just connected, had a great conversation. There's no better shows to do than sober shows. One, the comics are all nice, and two, nobody really gets offended. They used to shoot heroin in their dick, so they don't really care about jokes. So he's got a great podcast called the Palestinian Pod. He's identifies as
Sam.
Jewish. Yes.
Sorry, it's the Palestine Pod.
Okay, the Palestine Pod, and he is anti-Zionist. And please welcome Michael Schirtzer. How are you, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing so good. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Very
My
excited to have you.
Instagram account just got deleted and sent to an online alligator Alcatraz, so it's nice to be online again.
Oh, that's so crazy, dude. That is so crazy that they're still doing that. Like it does anything to help. It only makes it worse.
Yeah. So let's get right into it. I have my Instagram account.
Mike, hold on. No,
Yeah.
Before we start, I want
sorry.
you to tell us a little bit about yourself and where our listeners can find you.
For sure. So my name is Michael Schirtzer. I'm a Jewish anti-Zionist comedian, co-host of the Palestine Pod, and you can find me at thepalestinepod.com. I grew up Jewish, so that means I grew up in a Zionist adjacent community, right? Zionism was everywhere. Like, you couldn't go to your religious, cultural, or financial institutions without encountering Zionist control. And so, I grew up as a passive Zionist, somebody who did not understand that like Palestinians were being murdered every day. And I joined a Jewish fraternity at AE in Santa Barbara. And during that
Banana
process,
slugs? Are they the banana slugs?
no, we're the gauchos.
Okay, go on.
But during that process, it was about 8 weeks where we were subjected to all types of like humiliation rituals.
Oh, God.
And during one of those instances, we were all subjected to torture, which is basically like the way Israelis say hello.
Dude, that is crazy.
Yeah. So one time we were all black bagged. We had our eyes covered and we had our hands tied behind our backs. We were put in a stress position, like back to back in a dark room, and they were blasting loud music. And this went on for probably like 6 hours.
What was the music?
I honestly don't remember the song.
Was it Metallica? You remember they did that to the Iraqis?
It's like some of that trash techno stuff that they play, and then like as they're like blocking aid to Gaza. That's they have those like bonfires where they all dance without rhythm. Anyways, people should Google 5 dancing Israelis. That's a separate note. But yeah, so during this process, we were tied up and they were blasting this music, and it's called sensory deprivation torture. Or as the George Bush administration would call it, a good time.
Yeah.
And it was like 8 American guys in the pledge class, and then 2 guys who had served in the Israeli occupation army.
Oh my God.
And they were tied up with us. And they were having a good time. They were like laughing and joking the whole time.
That's so crazy.
And so after a couple hours of that, I just remember blurting out like, what's going on with you guys? Like, you guys are giving off psycho energy right now, And they said to me, they were like, we used to do this to Palestinians all the time. And so like, in that moment, bro, my whole life changed,
Wow.
It snapped me into an alternate reality where I was like, oh my God, everything I've ever learned is a lie, basically. And yeah, I mean, now that like we've seen 2 years of footage of them doing exactly this type of stuff to Palestinians, like it's just confirmation of what Palestinians have already been saying for so many years. And now you have them being like, Palestinians are being starved to death right now, right? By the Israelis, by the entire Israeli society, like not just the government. There are people who like go to the borders of Gaza and destroy aid that's waiting outside. Like, the aid's not even getting in because they've got a total blockade right now. But there are people who spend their time trying to stop aid from reaching in Gaza. Am I still connected?
Yeah, you are. We're letting you roll here, but
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Sometimes,
No, it's all
I'm
good.
so used to being censored. I'm like, damn, am I still going? All right.
You're going great. It's very interesting, man. You know, we've been
Bro.
talking a lot about programming here on this show lately, and there's no greater example of people who are just victim of their just generational trauma of programming than Israelis and Zionist Jews. I don't even want to get into Christian Zionists, so that's a whole different discussion, which we will get into. But,
Dude,
you know,
or the atheist ones who are still like, God gave us the land. Make it make sense,
is the
bro.
weirdest one of them all. I don't believe in God, but God gave us the land. Like, think about the mental gymnastics you have to do to get to that point. And there's
secular
two
Judaism,
really dangerous groups. There's a lot of dangerous groups, but two really dangerous groups which tend to be at very high points of power are atheist Jews and closeted gays. Okay, and you can say whatever you want. You could be having an adverse reaction to that term, closeted gay. But look how many of these politicians have come out and were like, "Oh, they're getting blackmailed because they're gay." And then they're just scorched the fucking earth. And you go, well, because they're blackmailed, or are they just really being their authentic self? And just it happens to be that they had something they could blackmail them on. But LBJ, they thought were gay. Woodrow Wilson, they thought blackmailed because he was gay. George Bush, Obama. You can go through all these guys. JFK was bisexual. Apparently, if you're not all the way, they don't like that. But it's super dangerous. And you just think of all these guys, because I know so many atheist Jews, and most of them I like, but a couple of them get very vocal about this genocidal, situation that we're in. And like, again, the programming is so strong that it overrides your basic instinct to help kids. It's like so crazy to me.
Yeah, well, they spend billions of dollars on an informational warfare project. This is their words. That's called Hasbara. And it's like they have basically call centers where they employ people to go online and influence public opinion through all types of avenues, whether it's Meta or Quora, or anytime you Google search anything, they're trying to have dominant SEO. Like, to them, Jewish supremacy extends online. And that's actually a good segue into my case, where like I had a video that kind of broke through the algorithm. Like, it was a stand-up clip where Israelis got triggered and then walked out of my comedy show because all I said was like, there was, did you guys hear the story of the Israeli soldier who was eaten by a shark?
No.
Oh, what a feel-good story. Not for him, but certainly for me and a lot of other people. And the shark, it was seen swimming past Israeli children earlier in the day, but it didn't attack the children. So even a shark can tell the difference between a child and a soldier.
Dude, that's great, bro.
That's what I said.
That's a great bit.
And they walked out because they're triggered little bitches. And they could have, dude, if I was a genocide, they could have sat through me like no problem. But because I had a little bit of critique for them, they immediately were triggered and they walked out. Anyways, I caught this on film and it went super viral. And, dude, it got circulated through like Israeli social media channels. And I had like Israeli influencers commenting on it, whatever. It was yucky. And then suddenly I was checking like my story views, and I saw Jordana Cutler's Instagram profile, and I was like, oh my God. Like, if people don't know who Jordana Cutler is, she is the policy chief at Meta for Israel and the Jewish diaspora.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Damn.
She is the person responsible for stripping Students for Justice or Palestine and other Palestinian accounts, journalists on the ground, like stripping them of their platform. Like, She is the Wicked Witch of the West Bank. It terrified me, right, when I saw it. I was like, oh my God. Like, I texted some of my close friends and I was like, gang, it felt like I was on the Titanic. I was like, it has been an honor serving with you all. Like, I am not long for this world. And truly, she locked my shit up, sent me to a digital El Salvadorian prison.
Just shadow ban or deleted, right?
No, brother. Fully deleted. Can't even, like, if you go to what was the formerly, like, the shell of my account, it is just like a link that says you don't exist anymore.
And that's the whole thing is like, everyone's losing their mind about Stephen Colbert and they're trying to make it look like it's some kind of fascism when in reality it's an economic thing. When you lose $40 million doing anything, you're not gonna keep your job. Except if you play women's basketball. But the whole thing is, because you bring up all, I've been railing against these progressive comedians who are trying to tell everybody cancel culture isn't real. It doesn't exist. And then we hear your story, my story. Like I lost one YouTube channel that was getting hundreds of thousands of views. This had to be 20 years ago. I lost it. And then they tried to come for it's mine, but we put our show on there. We have another channel with it, youtube.com/tinfoilhat.
Yes.
YouTube. Now there's two places you can get the show on YouTube. Either one we're fine with. We prefer you sub to our show though.
Yeah, all of it. Just do all of it.
But they were coming after my personal one, which has all my comedy shows on it. And we had to make a decision, which was to take down all the conspiracy content, any of it, whether it was premium content or tinfoil hat, which did huge damage to the show because that is the marketplace of views. So I bring all this up. I lost Patreons before. Obviously, it might not have been as severe as you, even though I did lose my Twitter, I did lose my Instagram. I had to pay to get back my Instagram at $3,000. And they just now chilled out. But I want to bring up the influence because you're talking about Zionist influence on the internet, and there was a giant data breach on Reddit. No, 4chan. There was a giant data breach on 4chan, and they were able to look at all the data, and they found that like 75% of the Israeli Jewish anti-Semitism hate was coming out of Israel.
Yes, bro. That's what I'm talking about, the Hasbara accounts. And so Jordana Cutler is actually a direct connection to the Israeli occupation. She used to work for Netanyahu. Like, she was a aide to the prime minister. And then she worked at the embassy, the DC embassy for Israel in the United States. And then she moved to Meta. So it's like a lateral movement and a direct representation of the Israeli government. And this is what she says. She gave a speech where she said, a part of my job is to represent Israel inside of Meta. Bro, it's like they're so dumb. They don't even know to hide their crimes. It's really annoying.
Well, because where they're from, they don't have to hide their crimes. That's a big issue.
They're used to saying their crimes in Hebrew and then saying something else in English. Bro, have you ever clicked translate on an Israeli tweet?
Yeah. Sometimes they take that down on the Israeli tweets. They won't let you.
Oh, really?
They won't let you translate it.
Funny.
But when you look at
it unlocks new chapters of Mein Kampf nobody's ever read before. It's crazy.
So if you study like China, right? China they don't understand Asian racism because they're all Asians. And when you make a funny joke about them, they go, why is everybody upset? It's the same thing. When it's like when my buddy Marcus King was thinking about going to college. He had a historically black college or Washington. And his dad told him, like, hey, man, why do you want to go to this historical black college? That's not life. That is not society. It's not all black. You want to go where you get different inputs. When you have an ethnocentric state, there's no dissension. Everyone agrees with each other. That's why when they interview that old lady that's talking about like just killing everybody in Gaza, the reason she says that without any concern is because she's been saying it for 50 years to people who totally agree with her.
She was just cold-blooded, bro.
That's Daniela Weiss. She is one of the head settlers, and she's responsible, according to herself, for every single settlement developed development that is in the West Bank for the last like 50 years. There's a interview that just came out with Louis Theroux, and he went to her house basically, and she's showing him on a map. She's like, I'm responsible for all these illegal settlements. This is like unanimously considered illegal by the whole world. And Jordana Cutler is also not the only representative from the Israeli government who now works at Meta. There is also somebody named Guy Rosen, and he is their chief informational security officer at Meta. He used to work for the Israeli cybersecurity unit 8200. That is the unit that's responsible for Hasbara, the online informational warfare. They do like cyber attacks on energy grids. They are the ones responsible for like the Dragnet surveillance system of Palestinians and also like everybody else in the world. If you've listened to like interviews with CIA agents, they're always telling you how the Israeli Mossad were always trying to mic them up or like just breach data. Like they don't trust them. And nobody else should either.
Well, that's the story. The CIA guy that's been going around talking about.
Yeah.
At some point, they kicked Mossad out of the CIA headquarters.
Exactly. That guy. That's what I'm referencing.
John Kiriakou? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. That's
you,
crazy, dude. That's crazy that they got so tired of being given gifts with listening devices in them that they had to come up with a whole new office space just to meet with Israel. For no other purpose than to meet with their so-called allies.
Do you know what's super interesting? CERN is kind of like an international, like, how would you say, unit? I don't know how to describe CERN. How would you describe it?
Like a sort of a cooperative between countries.
And do you know the only country that isn't allowed in there?
Is it Israel?
Is Israel. Yeah. Everybody else is allowed to bring scientists there and work on it. The only ones that aren't allowed to do that are Israelis.
What is the what is the reasoning?
Hold on, stop. What do you think the reasoning is, XG?
I mean, not just because they're evil. Okay. I'm just wondering if that's what's on the book. If that's literally
well, it's like if we just talked about how they're circumventing all these tech companies and the CIA doesn't even trust them. That's probably what it is.
Yeah.
If the CIA is like, I don't know, they're not morally sound, like, bro, that's enough. You know what I mean? Because they're not, the CIA is not a bunch of fucking, philosophers who are like enforcing ethics all the time.
Yes. John Kiriakou is like the most moral CIA person ever. And you have to remember, he did extraordinary rendition on people. Like, he went and pulled these people that ended up
he did torture. Like everybody at the CIA is responsible for torture and murder. And so if they are like, guys, that's a bit too far, that's probably a good canary in the coal mine for what to trust.
Absolutely.
You see it at every level, this censorship. I think it's backfiring on them now.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, Twitter's allowing to happen, and I don't trust anyone as far as I can kick them. What is your thoughts on why this type of rhetoric is allowed on Twitter?
Well, I think ultimately the Israelis have been trying to shape a narrative for the last 75 years, and that narrative has collapsed, right? Intellectually, they've lost all of the ground. Nobody believes them anymore. Everybody views them as they are, which is like genocidal murderers. And so they're going to continue to spend money to try and influence people online and try and like dominate a narrative. But Palestinians have broken through, right? And that's even despite the censorship. Like the ultimate censorship is that they're killing journalists. There's over 250 Palestinian journalists who have been martyred by the Israeli occupation, just with airstrikes and stuff. And so, that alone is like, okay, that's over 250 war crimes, right? Remember when killing a journalist used to be a big deal? Like now they're just murdering journalists regularly and it barely even makes the news. So that's like the ultimate form of censorship.
Really
but then
if
you survive an airstrike, if you're able to document the war crimes that are happening around you and you're able to get it uploaded because you don't have internet access all the time, then once it gets on those platforms, it might be removed or it might be shadow banned or ultimately your account might be fully deleted. And so, like the censorship that is trying to stop people who are speaking about genocide is the same hand. The same hand choking the journalists on the ground in Palestine is the same hand that is censoring microphones here in the West, right? And so I think that ultimately they're trying every single thing that they can. Like, here's a couple facts. Like, as of April 12th, Meta has deleted over 90,000 posts at Israel's request. Meta also significantly expanded automated takedowns since the Al-Aqsa flood on October 7th, resulting in an estimated 38.8 million additional posts being, quote, actioned upon across Facebook and Instagram since late 2023. Actioned upon in Facebook terms means that a post was either removed, banned, or suppressed. Right. So they're trying their hardest. And they've also infiltrated the New York Times. There was a infographic that was circulating recently about like New York Times executives who have either served in the Israeli occupation or they have children who have served in the occupation army and or like lived in stolen homes or like connected to the think tanks. And then also the similar thing for Apple. All of these like tech corporations are a part of an infrastructure of genocide that allows the algorithm to push positive content about people who are melting children in wheelchairs.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely insanity how people are still behind this. And
it's only because of the algorithmic suppression of actual Palestinian content and people talking about Palestine issues. Like, bro, if people saw children being burned alive every time they opened the app, and that's something that Facebook, Meta could do, right? They could push that content. They would have a harder time supporting what's going on. But because there's a whole like echo chamber of people who agree with them, and the algorithm actually favors that and pushes that content that like promotes that Israel is actually like a nice place to visit and like your birthright video. And here's a video of like a soldier who looks hot or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's the type of thing that they are doing and pushing on the algorithm. And only because of that has this genocide been allowed to continue. This Holocaust been allowed to continue for 2 years now and over 75 years, really.
It's really crazy. So today on my Twitter feed, they were talking about a life lost on October 7th. And they found this picture of this Israeli chick who died on October 7th. And they couldn't pick a better picture to promote her fat ass. Like it, I mean, dude, It is the biggest fucking apple I've ever seen in my life. And that's done on purpose. It's a psychological operation for you to go, oh my God, we lost a hot one. That's literally what they're doing. Johnny, if I can find it for you, I'll show you. It's so shocking.
So funny, dude.
It's so shocking how fat her ass is and how cute her face is. And you're like, oh, we lost a hot one. And it's like that's all psychological. So if you're a parent and you want to post a picture of your lost daughter, do you post a picture of her fat ass? Like it's crazy.
They're literally sexualizing her even after death. And frankly, they probably killed her, bro. You know about the Hannibal Directive?
100%. And that's what I want to get
I'm sure you
into.
guys are tapped in. But for anybody who doesn't know, the Hannibal Directive is the Israeli occupation actually deployed an Apache helicopter to fire at the Nova Music Festival and also at a couple kibbutzim. So, like, they are the ones who shelled most of the people to death.
What are kibbutzim?
That's where they stole land from Palestinians, but through, like, farming. Where they were like, oh, we're not the Zionists who are gonna like murder you with guns and stuff and like run you out of your home and rape you and kill you, whatever. We're the ones who are gonna like come and like do like tomato jamming circles. Like we're like, you know what I mean? Like they stole it through agriculture, and it's where like a bunch of Jewish people live together on a farm.
The people who push against this narrative that you're talking about, I call them October 8thers, okay?
Yeah.
Because they're the ones who are still working with debunked old data. Free the kids, shouldn't have been a terrorist attack. And it's like really crazy because there is so much information out there. I mean, Ben Swann's video on October 7th is the death blow to this notion that this was naturally happening, because what they want you to believe is that the people who pulled off this absolutely ridiculously war criminal pager attack, where the terrorists were being attacked in their houses on their own land, right? They're the terrorists, but they pulled off this elaborate beeper attack. But they didn't know that hang gliders were, paragliders were coming, and that they moved. And this is the whole thing. They moved the concert closer to the border.
Yeah, and who among us doesn't want to have a rave outside of Auschwitz?
Yeah, it's like absolutely insane.
Well, that's the thing I've never. I mean, how do they explain that they knew, because the concert got moved at the last minute? How do they explain that they knew to attack? Right? I mean, that makes no sense unless there's some cooperation.
No, 100%.
Zionists, I say they only have like an October 7th calendar. Like their whole life started on October 7th, and they don't know any other date. You know?
When were you born?
Like, what day is it today? Wow, October 7th again. It's like Groundhog's Day, but Palestinians have freedom.
That's so funny. October 7th is Groundhog's Day.
What do you think?
For Zionists.
Anyway, so I gave an interview after they took my Instagram account to a couple different like outlets or whatever. And one article was published in Mondeweiss where I compared Jordana Cutler to a modern day Joseph Goebbels, right? The Minister of Information for the Nazis. And the day after that article was published, my second Instagram account was fully deleted forever. And so I just think that's a bold strategy on her behalf, because it's like, you proved me right, essentially. Like,
and it's like Minister of Truth in 1984.
Yeah. And it's like she's so powerful because Meta has like such a monopoly of power of what people think and hear and see that like she is deeply responsible for influencing public opinion. She controls what information is acceptable for public debate. Right. And so a Jewish guy being like Palestinians have every single right to resist violently, to, return home, to like I support the Palestinian resistance 100%. And so somebody saying that looks like me is a huge threat to the Zionist narrative. They are like, we got to get this guy the fuck out of here. And to that, I say thank you so much.
I think that now the sentiment is getting to that they should have a violent response to it.
Of course, bro. Palestinians have a legal right to armed resistance. They are an occupied people, right? This is the UN saying this. They have a legal right to armed resistance because they've been occupied. Like Hamas did not start before the Israeli occupation. And so anybody who blames Hamas misses the root issue, which is Zionism. Zionism is responsible for displacing 750,000 Palestinians in 1948, murdering 15,000 of them at least, massacring them, stealing their villages, their farmland, right? That's what Zionism. And it's crazy because Jordana Cutler is a direct ideological heir to the people who did that. The Likud party, the party that's in charge right now, the one that Netanyahu is in charge of, is a ideological heir to the Irgun. And that's the group of the Zionist terrorists responsible for the Nakba in 1948.
Yeah, and the Irgun and the what is his name? Lehi. No, the gangster. Who's the famous Jewish gangster?
Meyer Lansky.
The Meyer
Lansky was deeply yes.
The Irgun, is that the pronunciation? Irgun and
Irgun.
The crime net.
I don't concern myself with the pronunciation of war criminals. It's like it's like somebody being like, it said Nazi actually. Like I don't really care.
But those two organizations with British influence, and that's why people don't understand it. It's like the Zionists run the war. I'm like, there are layers to this shit, and they get other people to fight their wars. It was Meyer Lansky's crime syndicate and Irgun, which is a paramilitary Zionist terrorist group who is actually, this is facts, actually was responsible for the first terrorist attack in the Middle East. They were the first
in Palestine. Yes, it was the King David bombing. And the King David was a hotel that was owned and operated by British royalty. And the Zionists who had benefited from British colonialism in Palestine had been trained by the British, had been armed by the British, had been allowed to immigrate to Palestine by the British. They were upset that British people, like the British government, wasn't allowing them to bring as many Jews over as they wanted. And they were already like way over what they had agreed upon. And they just wanted more and more land. And so they actually turned on their benefactors and engaged in the first terrorist attack in Palestine, the King David bombing. And murdered like British people, British soldiers. And that is actually why the Queen of England never went to Palestine. She would not visit them. And she was quoted as saying that every Israeli is either a terrorist or the son of a terrorist. And bro, the British Queen has bodies on her.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's not as though it's like a CIA telling us that the Mossad is bad situation where it's like, okay, that's probably a good indication.
Yeah, I'm with you. And when you study it, kind of what they've done which is Britain has created this kind of like extremist group to do all their dirty work, which is to slowly but surely over decades take more and more land. Mm-hmm. And now they're openly talking about the Greater Israel Project and New Israel, which is going to be, which they want to be, is the Ukraine.
New Israel. Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a thing? I didn't even know about New Israel.
100% New Israel.
Is that like New Coke?
I thought Israel was the new Israel. You know what I mean? It's like, it's pretty new still.
Yeah, but it's going to be the second part of it, which is Khazaria.
Israel, so it's a sequel. It's Israel
It's
part
like
two.
It's like,
dude,
it's like
they're watering it down.
Yeah, you have Mexico and you have New Mexico. That's what we're talking about. There's
Israel.
a New Mexico.
Is it going to be better?
Well,
Is New Mexico
we'll
better?
get into the Greater Israel Project because I have
debatable.
theories on that and all that stuff. But
Yeah, so I mean, they're executing the Greater Israel Project right now, which is the
100%.
full takeover of Palestine and also the destabilization of Syria, of various parts of the Middle East, right? That's their strategy. They outlined it in a memo called the Clean Break Memo. It was prepared in like 1996 for various neocons through a think tank. And it talks about how they were going to destabilize Syria using the CIA and ISIS and Al-Qaeda, just as they did. And now you've got the head of Al-Qaeda as the president of Syria, right? A guy named Jolani, a guy who was responsible for car bombings in Iraq, a guy who was literally like responsible for the groups that beheaded children on Live Leak when I was growing up. Like, I don't know. It feels like our generation forgot ISIS, but I still remember.
no, ISIS is still. So I'm going to list to you all the different projects that were used to help or either used or are a plan for the Greater Israel Project. The study the Clean Break Report, the strategy for Israel in the 1980s, Project for a New American Century, the Mass Hannibal Directive, the Daya Doctrine, which is in full effect right now, Gaza 2035, the Ben Gurion Canal Project, and the Greater Israel Project. Those are all in full effect right now. Full effect. And it doesn't just stop there. People just keep yelling about fucking Hamas all the time. Hamas, fucking tell Hamas, don't let them do, blah, 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 blah.
Who is that?
So these are the retards. So I want to read you something that was just posted real quick.
Monster.
I'm not going to go in through all of it, but what I am going to do is just read the titles of each paragraph. Air and cover medical aid to ISIS. That's what Israel does. Arm and cash to Al Qaeda and Al Nusra. Okay, those are two terrorist
Nusra.
groups.
Yeah.
Nusra, or was it? How do you pronounce it?
Al Nusra.
Al Nusra. Direct liaison with Hamas leadership. This is a fact. It's not only do they fund Hamas, okay, fully arm and fund Hamas. There's articles written before they get cleaned. They just get completely wiped off the internet about Netanyahu sending a party to Qatar to beg them to continue to fund Hamas. Okay, that's a real thing. Okay, we're gonna get into. Let's just break these down real quick. Air cover and medical aid for ISIS. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so the Israeli government on many occasions has provided medical aid and cover to ISIS. There's a photo of Benjamin Netanyahu and an ISIS militant in a hospital bed, and they're like holding hands as if they're related.
Unbelievable, dude.
Yeah, because
Unbelievable.
Israel and ISIS actually have a lot in common, right? People don't recognize that, but Israel is kind of like the ISIS for Jews, where they showed up like quite recently with guns and backed by the West, and they're like, we're the real Jews, you know? And I don't know. So the vibes are off for me. But because I'm an old school Jew, I'm a part of that, like, we do not kill, do not steal type of thing. And I really think those are bangers, but they're writing a whole new type of thing, you know?
Those are the classics. It's also
And-
that ISIS. Hold on, real quick. ISIS was formed after the fall of Iraq, and it is direct result. This is how nasty these leaders are. Obama, Hillary, John McCain, and the Benghazi scandal literally was they killed off J. Chris Stevenson III because he was the last loose end that knew that the United States formed ISIS when John Brimmer, no, it's John Brimmer the third, excuse me, not John J. Chris Stevenson the third. It's J. Chris Stevenson was the head of the embassy in I think, was it Libya or where was it? It was Benghazi, and they basically killed him. He was asking for more support, more security.
That's a horrible story.
And they let it go because he knew that they had completely formed, trained, funded, and armed. Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
then,
it actually goes all the way back to Zbigniew Brzezinski, who was the national security advisor to Jimmy Carter.
Yeah.
And even before that, they were working on it, but that's sort of when things like really picked up. And Zbigniew Brzezinski was arming the Mujahideen
Yes.
in Afghanistan as a way to counteract Russian influence. And ultimately, that was the first time that that group was set up with Western arms. They decided that like, hey, we're actually probably gonna fight, like, do what we want. Like, we're not gonna listen to you. But like, they ultimately were always a tool of Western imperialism. They were employed and directed by the CIA, and so they have worked to further U.S. policy influence. Right? They basically only attack Muslims and create division among like the various sects of Islam. And so, yeah, that was like the beginning. There's a picture of Zbigniew Brzezinski and Osama bin Laden
Yep.
when they first started arming.
there's a
them.
video of him telling them, "You guys are great, holy
Yeah.
warriors, and your God
Yeah.
is going to love what you do." Total bullshit. And then his daughter goes on to host Cup of Joe and
Exactly.
marries a guy who killed his intern.
And that's how they still control the media, right? Her influence is still proliferated. Like her father's influence is still proliferated through her and this like large media outlet, which is broadcast widely to, like a liberal audience or whatever.
Yeah, 100%. And then you get into Al Qaeda. Al Qaeda is basically problem reaction solution, and they do this all the time. And all I hear from these idiots, we fight them over here, so we don't have to fight them over here. It's like the dumbest bumper sticker sayings
Yeah.
you've ever heard in your fucking life. And they do this on purpose, dude. They create the problem. Now you go, these fucking terrorists, they're fucking pieces of shit. Well, you got to understand who most of these terrorists are. They come from completely war-torn countries that their economies have been absolutely annihilated. There are no jobs. You can't go down and work at Amazon. You can't go work at, Amazon Fresh. You can't work at any of these fucking places. The only jobs that are available are militant jobs in which at some point the guy paying your check will try to kill you. That's exactly what happens. These are traumatized people. You can sit there and go, you're a terrorist sympathizer. I'm a human sympathizer. And that's all these guys are. They are from completely traumatized area. If you introduce trauma into a child, they will become a terrorist to those who have destroyed their country. And they will go wherever the paycheck is, and they're used. And once they overtake whatever they do, America's like, we got to stop these terrorists that we installed. We got to take them out. And then they slaughter all them. And then they take the land.
Yeah, dude, I used to work in politics in like municipal elections. And so sometimes I would go to these events where I would encounter people who were a part of think tanks like the Atlantic Council or the Council on Foreign Relations. And we would be at dinner parties and they would just be discussing stuff, and I would overhear these conversations because I was working as an executive assistant to somebody who was like a large donor to one of the major parties. And so I remember in 2010, a year before the so-called Syrian revolution, there was this guy who was at this dinner party and he said to us, he said, we're going to overthrow Bashar al-Assad in Syria and we're going to take Venezuela as well. And so a year later, John McCain is pictured with so-called Syrian rebels. And I had a very strange moment. It was kind of like the moment where I was like tied up, where I was like, oh my God, like the guy fucking told us exactly what he was going to do. And it happened. And so it's what kind of kickstarted me into being more vocal, where I was like, I kind of know some stuff. I should tell people about it. And yeah, so I found out about the Syrian revolution a year before it actually happened because I was at this fucking event in Manhattan Beach with a bunch of rich people who were a part of think tanks.
Spoiler alert.
Crazy.
Jesus.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
That's so fun.
And that's what when I watched the Nick Fuentes Candace Owen discussion, and I think Nick is a very smart guy. I think he's very articulate. He is 26. I say that with respect. He is 26 years old, and like he knows more about certain subjects than I knew about anything at 26 years old. But there are data black hole blind spots, and Candace brought it up, and she brought up basically the hidden hand, and that's kind of what our show's about is the hidden hand in everything. What is the hidden hand? And he brings up Africa. He brings up all these other places. Well, I mean, like, if you want to talk about Africa, France has assassinated like 70 of their leaders.
Knowing what's happening with Ibrahim Traore, the president of Burkina Faso?
No.
Oh, dude is like a real life Wakanda. He is kicking out the French government. And he's like organizing a lot of the African states together to fight against colonialism. He's about to create probably a currency for Africa, which is exactly what Muammar Gaddafi was trying to do in Libya before they killed him. And he's serious about business. Like he's an ideological heir to Thomas Sankara, who was a revolutionary president of Burkina Faso who tried to make reforms for the people. And he was successful for about 4 years before the French government assassinated him. And so Ibrahim Traore is moving different, right? He's never seen without like 100+ guards. But even like anytime he is seen publicly, he's so beloved that people are just like trying to get close to him to thank him because he's standing up to U.S. imperialism. He's kicking out French colonialism. He's nationalized all of the mines in Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso has gold. Like there's no reason that they should be impoverished, but they've just been so exploited by colonialism that, they haven't been allowed to utilize their resources for themselves. And so he's become a target of U.S. Africa, like AFRICOM, the U.S. government occupation of Africa. That's like the imperial force that tries to destabilize and steal resources from Africa. But he's winning, and he's like the future of decolonization happening right now.
Well, that's a big part of South Africa too. Like we're sold on all this apartheid in South Africa. I'm not saying that isn't an issue, but when you study what really started kicking off the whole, oh my God, they're all like apartheid. Every country is approached by the IMF, okay, to take these ridiculous loans that they can't pay back. You're not meant to be able to pay it back. You're not meant to. What they do is they do a revolution there with a hidden hand. They install a corrupt a leader. They make him make a deal with the IMF for all these loans, and then him and his crony friends steal all the fucking money, and then they eventually assassinate him and install another crony in there. So South Africa has so much natural resources that they don't want. They didn't need the IMF's money, and they turned it down. And that's when they cranked up the race baiting and the race hating and all that shit. You know, Nelson Mandela was a Freemason. You see him in all these different robes where he's like in Freemasonry. And like when you're part of that group and you're really deep in, you do play a role. You will go to jail if it's part of a narrative that they need to push. Now, I have my theories on a lot of that stuff, but that's a different episode. But they just economically destroyed them. They made it so no one would do any business with them, which cripples them. And now you look at South Africa as just in disarray. And now that South Africa has brought these charges against Israel, they're doubling down on this. Oh, they're killing all the white farmers. I'm not saying they aren't killing white farmers, but the way they promote it's just like with the illegal deportations. Those have been happening forever. It's just the news never told you. And now they're telling you to personally piss you the fuck off, so you want destabilization.
Yeah, they're not killing white farmers. That's like a propaganda campaign that's being run by the CIA and stuff to inflame tensions, racial tensions.
Yeah, 100%.
Among people in South Africa and also in the United States. And what you were talking about with the IMF is there's a great book called Confessions of an Economic Hitman. And I believe it's John Perkins is his name. But he used to work for the World Bank, and he talks about how from the 1950s on, the United States strategy has been to entrap people in debt and then exploit them and manipulate them for political and economic purposes. And so he outlines how like every single country, he goes through the deals because he did it himself. You know, he went over there. He calls himself like a jackal, an economic jackal, because he would go and like, if they didn't want to play ball, then they would just mess you up. Like it's mafia, intimidation,
100%.
extortion. And it's, you know, dude, the whole world's run by pedophiles. That's why literally both parties were so happy that like the Epstein list is not coming out. Like Bill Clinton's happy about it, and so is Trump, right? Like everybody on both sides is protected. There's like more solidarity among the pedophile class than there is among the working class. And that is upset to see.
Why can't we all get along like pedophiles get along?
Dude, and that's what American politics is like a choose your own pedophile situation, because like everybody's connected to this thing. And also the Israeli occupation, like, bro, Epstein was a Mossad asset. That's why the United States government didn't prosecute him and was told to back off, right? Like he is the one who was responsible for all of these like blackmailing campaigns. And that's why like everybody from both sides is on the list. Fucking whether you're talking about what's the crippled guy's name? Fuck.
They're all crippled. Who, like the wheelchair guy?
Hawkins. Hawkins. Like Stephen Hawking is on the list. You know, so is Alan Dershowitz or what? Like everybody from both sides is a pedophile probably, and also the Israeli occupation is a safe haven for pedophiles. That's something you can Google and verify. It's a story from like 2016 where there's like a preponderance of pedophiles that live inside of occupied Palestine, and what idiots call Israel. And it's they also will allow people to like escape charges from various other countries. So people like from the United States are being charged in like pedophilia crimes, and they will leave the United States and go live inside occupied Palestine. And they're fine. They're not
anybody or Jews.
Jews mostly, but you could like convert, you know what I mean? There are actually South African settlers who converted to Judaism after the fall of apartheid. They just threw on a yarmulke and started murdering Palestinians in the West Bank.
That's crazy. They still don't look at you the same, right? Even if you convert?
I don't know. It honestly, to the Zionists, it depends on how many Palestinian bodies you have on you. Like that's how good of a Jew you are. They literally really don't care.
Dude. Like I've talked about this before about why I'm not attracted to Asian chicks is because they're all cute. and I like a range. So you really appreciate when a chick is hot. You're like, wow, she's hot, right? Asians are all 6 and above.
Why don't you compare them to all women though, instead of just to the ones in that race?
Well,
That's the
because
part I don't
that,
understand.
like, hey, I'm into black chicks, I'm into white chicks, I'm into Latina. They all is Jews are totally like that too, right? Like if you look at Israelis, there are some smoke show Israelis, and dude, the Maxwells are the best example of that. You know, what's her face? Giselle, like she was
Joanne?
really cute compared to her 2 sisters, which were uncomfortable to look at. Right? That's why she was put to the forefront, and her sisters worked in the
Did
background.
you see that interview with her brother on Piers Morgan?
No,
the other day?
no,
Boy, it's
no.
weird, dude. It's real, boy. He's got her back big time.
Of
but
course
he's
she
like,
does.
I mean,
because they don't think she did anything wrong.
Yeah, it's really.
Her-
I
Did
feel
they
like it
go-
was probably her abilities to human traffic that
Yeah.
made her stand out, but I don't know.
No,
it could have been
she
her
is
looks.
hot with big cans, and then her sisters were trolls. I mean, it's just look at them; they're just uncomfortable to look at. But
They got office jobs at Mossad instead because they were like,
100%.
don't put them out.
yeah, you're going to be in the office.
like
and
wrestling,
she's going
right?
to be in
Yeah.
the field. Okay, that's how it's going to
Yeah.
go. And
She's a face.
But yeah, I mean, so my story is the reason I can go off on Israelis if we're going to play that game. I had almost what would be the equivalent of like almost probably maybe like $1.2 million in crypto. Bought it when it was super cheap. Had it explode. Didn't buy $1 million. I'm not even close to that kind of money. But it exploded, and today it'd be probably worth about 1.2. And that Israeli stole all of it. And I can say that because where they caught him before they arrested him was in the airport going to Israel.
Mashinsky.
He was going to go there and never be heard from again after he stole everybody's fucking crypto. And
Can
he
you
would have been
believe that
seen as
an
a hero.
Israeli would try and steal from you?
Yeah, it's I have next door neighbors who are Israelis, and I try to get along with them. We're fighting over a curb right now. We're literally fighting over land.
Bro, protect your house, dog. They
We're
love to steal
literally
houses.
fighting over land right now with these
They
people.
kicked me out of my house when I was in college. Like, I was in the fraternity and they kicked me out and I had to move.
That is
They're
so
not
crazy.
happy with just displacing Palestinians. They're like college students too.
So again, it's like October 7th. It didn't start that. It's been going on forever. And one of the biggest days for this greater Israeli project is 9/11. And everything going on. You know, this is a conspiracy show, Michael. So I don't know how deep you go. I'm sure you sounds like you go pretty deep, but
Dog, I was putting together like presentations about 9/11 for my college professor at UCSB, and she
That's-
taught it as a class.
that is crazy, dude.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And so I can tell you their influence is all over it, right? I mentioned the 5 dancing Israelis before, just as like an aside, but there's only a few people that had access to planting charges in the way that they did. And it's both NYPD and Israeli intelligence. And they actually have an NYPD office in Tel Aviv. So it is consistent that they would be working together on a project of that size.
Johnny, can I send you a video for you to play real quick?
XG.
Oh, XG, send it to XG. Okay, can you
Yeah.
play this video for us? It's
Is it the woman smiling?
no, it's
Yeah,
this
send it to XG. We'll see.
I sent it to both of you. I tweeted it. I texted it to you. See if you can grab it. It is perfect explanation of a lot of it went out. Now I think there's layers to it. One of the layers of deceit is the 19 hijackers. I think that is smokescreen to blame people. Did you get it? Did you get it?
I haven't got anything. You got
It's
it?
from samtripoli.com. Let me see. Can I?
You
Never
text
mind.
it or
I got it. I got it.
Oh, you got it. Can you put it on that thing and play it for us? It's so perfect. It was done so well. You know, there's just these layers upon layers upon layers, and everybody gets in fights about it.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, here's the thing. Buildings don't just explode on their own, even if there's been fires nearby. So I've always been pretty skeptical of what went on with Building 7 and also with the controlled demolition of 1 and 2, Towers 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Also, if you're familiar with the occupants, the tenants of the building of Building 7, it's a lot of CIA, it's a lot of like US Secret Service, Treasury, sort of fiduciary obligations, things like that. Like records that would implicate some of the most powerful people in crimes, like financial crimes. And all of that was deleted with, you know, an explosion of a building that free fell in 7 seconds.
Yeah, it's beyond interesting, and it's kind of come back where people are talking about what happened that day. There's always a picture of Trump, and behind him is a man, and that man is a Zionist. And recently, it came out that man, his office was the top floor of the World Trade Center, and that day, he decided that he wasn't going to go to work. He was going to go to his daughter's recital at school, conveniently.
Dude, I bet his daughter's music is so good. It's so good that you had to miss 9/11.
Hey, listen,
right?
I can't go today. My daughter's playing bongos. I have to go. Were you able to find it, make it happen, guys? Okay. So...
Because there's also there's an article that was published by ABC News in 2002. Were Israelis detained on September 11th spies? Spoiler alert, they were. And so
that's what I'd like to get into. Michael Schirter.
Yeah.
Michael Schirter was, I think it was head of Homeland Security, or I forget the exact title that he had at that moment, but he had the power to basically take...
Well, there wasn't Homeland Security.
It wasn't there,
9/11.
but it was something like that. It was along the lines of that.
Michael Chertoff.
Yeah, Michael Schirter. He is the one who basically took all the arrested dancing Israelis, from the Israeli art students, and I forget the name of what the country was, but there were art students and this is something some people debate. They're like, they weren't from Israel. It doesn't matter where they are from.
Bro, their names were Paul Kurzberg, Yarel Shmuel, Oded Elner, and Omer Marmara. I'm going to go ahead and say they were probably from Israel, bro.
So for 4 years, they were doing an art project in the towers in which they were installing a new elevator of some sort. And there's all these famous pictures. Let Me Take You to Dick Cheney is a very powerful video in which this author, I have her book in my house, in which she discusses the B9 fuses, and there's just boxes of explosive fuses. And I don't know why they take these pictures. I think it's nonlinear warfare, but there's pictures of explosives lining the boxes, because they got to line the whole.
Can I tell you why they take the pictures? It's the same reason that you're seeing Israeli occupation soldiers posing with Palestinians who are either blindfolded or tortured or dead, right? It's because they take them and then they brag about them to the people back inside occupied Palestine. They will and this is confirmed by one of the spouses of a Israeli soldier who was liquidated by the resistance. She's like, you used to come back and tell me about how many Palestinian homes you destroyed that day. And that's like Israeli pillow talk is talking about destruction of Palestinian life. And so they take pictures like that. They take pictures where they dress up in the lingerie of Palestinian women that they've murdered and displaced. And then they post that on their dating profiles, which are public profiles. And that actually underscores the insanity of the censorship, where it targets Palestinians but allows them to post whatever. Because bro, there are Israelis who are right now uploading pictures, videos of their war crimes on Meta, and Meta has no issue with that. Meta has is not flagging it, is not taking it down. Meta is actually encouraging and boosting content like that, right? While at the same time silencing Palestinians and people who speak up about Palestine. And so there's a clear double standard that exists where Israelis are allowed to post whatever they want, and then Palestinians are simply not allowed to exist.
Yeah. So right now there is a post going around the internet, and it says debate destiny. If you want to debate destiny, you can sign up for this and go debate him.
Oh, no, I'm good.
But yeah, he's such a piece of shit. But they filmed him going to Israel and telling the Israelis, filming your war crimes.
he's explaining them media operations, right? He's telling them that, like, look, I don't care if you commit war crimes. Just don't document them, right? Like, it's easier for us to win a media narrative, the informational warfare, if you guys are not posting your own war crimes.
I'm getting wrecked in debates, guys. You got to stop filming this shit.
Literally, he's like, there's L's in the chat, bro. I need you to stop.
So anyway, so Michael Schirter, he is in charge. Can you look up what he's in charge of, Johnny, real quick?
Right now?
Yeah, while I'm talking about it. Yeah, that'd be a good time.
I pulled him up. No, I mean, what he's in charge of currently?
No, what he was in charge of during 9/11.
Well, I looked it up. It said that he was, in 2000, he was special counsel to the New Jersey Senate Judiciary Committee, investigating racial profiling in New Jersey. He also did some fundraising for George W. Bush and other Republicans during the 2000 election cycle. He advised Bush's presidential campaign on criminal justice issues, and then he was appointed by Bush after that to head the criminal division of the Department of Justice.
There we go.
Serving from 2001 to 2003.
Yes, there it is. So he was head of the DOJ, right?
The criminal division of the DOJ.
Okay, that seems like most of it, but that's fine. So
Well, they're all criminals there, actually.
yeah,
so.
They're these elites. They're the criminal, the police, the lawyers, the jury, and the judge. So 9/11 happens. He rounds up all these Israelis and sends them back to Israel. And you go, why would he do that?
Well, not initially, actually. They were arrested, and they had both the FBI and the CIA intervene on their case because a police officer pulled over a van finding 5 men between 22 and 27 years old in the vehicle. They were the ones who had been seen celebrating 9/11. Taking videos, dancing, etc. The men were taken out of the van at gunpoint and handcuffed by police. The arresting officers said that a lot that aroused their suspicion. One passenger had $4,700 in cash hidden in his sock. Another was carrying 2 foreign passports. A box cutter was found in the van. But perhaps the biggest surprise for the officers came when the 5 men identified themselves as Israeli Israeli citizens.
Yeah.
So they were arrested for quite a while and then had both intelligence agencies intervene on their case, and then they were deported. And the company that they were associated with in New Jersey dissolved. So they couldn't even track the records of it. It was a full-on Mossad front operation so that they could be in the United States to plant those charges in both building 1 and 2 World Trade Center, and probably building 7 as well. And as soon as they were done and they fulfilled the operational purpose, they were extradited by the Israeli occupation and intelligence assets.
So Michael Schirter, right? Schirter. He is a direct. His parents were instrumental into the development of Israel. His father is a Talmud scholar. Right there lets you know we're in trouble. He was a Talmud scholar. His mother was basically a Mossad spy before Mossad was officially formed, but she was a Zionist spy, and she was in something called Operation Magic Carpet. Okay. And the whole thing was she disguised herself as a flight attendant for a fake airline that's whole job was to smuggle Zionists out of Yemen into Israel. And she was instrumental in the development of Israel.
There's a part of that operation that's called the Yemenite Affair, where Yemeni babies were stolen from their mothers in Yemen and then brought over to Palestine and distributed to European Jews, basically to Europeanize them. It's the colonialism goes so deep it even happens in the family unit. And so you have these Yemeni babies and mothers who are now separated, and then these people grow up and become occupation soldiers. And they feel a loyalty to the settler colony of Israel, right? They don't have any connection to where they're from.
Yeah, it's crazy. They did that with Armenians too, the Turkish. And these people would take DNA tests and realize they're not Turkish, but they're Armenian. And it's, Armenian mothers would literally off their babies so they weren't taken by the Turks back in the day. So
Yeah, and now the Turks are actually like sort of working in cohesion with Israel in Syria, right? Because they both have interests in stealing that land and balkanizing the region. Israel wants to take it all, Turkey wants to take it all, and they're probably going to meet in the middle and murder as many Christians and Alawites as they can on the way.
well, they're working together
Druze
with
people.
Azerbaijan right now. Israel's supplying Azerbaijan with like insane weapons to use against the Armenian people. I mean, just step by step by step. Yeah. Do you know about Building 5?
No, but I had heard about, Larry Silverstein and the payout for the insurance.
Dude,
What
I
about
love
Building
when
5?
you meet somebody that doesn't know about Building 5. It's like a little conspiracy Christmas. So Building 5 was obviously, there's Building 6, there's Building 7, Building 7. It goes down with 1 million camera angles on it, which conveniently they had 1 million. So you can see all these different angles of this building going down, which I think fits in the nonlinear warfare.
And the BBC announced the demolition of Building 7 30 minutes before it happened. You
Yeah.
can see the tower behind the woman who's broadcasting as she makes the mistake of reading the copy early.
It's just so crazy. So Building 5 had a department in it called the El Dorado Task Force. And it was a task force where like 60 different government agencies had pooled resources to investigate money laundering and terrorism. And they just drilled that. They tried to take it down, but they fucked up because the walls all stayed up. And it's just, you see this drilling down into the building. So the whole building is hollowed out, but the walls all stay up. And to me, it's not talked about because that lets you know it was a bombing. You can't fake the funk on that one. That one's so obvious that they blew it up from the middle. So they
That's
don't
how
discuss
committed
it.
Zionists are to building walls.
Yeah, bang. Hey, look, this one's so good it won't even go down. That's
They're like, we can't take this one down. Maybe people will get ideas.
I mean, if you can get into all this stuff about the West connection to ISIS as well. The CIA was busted sending $1.5 billion to a PR company in Britain. And for some reason, they told everybody about it, which seems really dangerous to me. Yeah. But they told everybody that they shot all the beheading videos that you watched on the internet. Those were all made up.
And they paid the salaries of everybody who beheaded that like child or group of people, any of those videos you saw. Those people were supported, funded, and trained by U.S. intelligence. And people can learn more about that by Googling Operation Timber Sycamore, right? It is a CIA documented program to destabilize Syria and create this environment where Israel can steal more land. And they already had the Golan Heights, right? But like they weren't able to fully break into the entirety of Syria. They were confined to the Golan Heights, which is still occupied and not their land. But they have ambitions for more, right? They've always had ambitions for more. And so that also goes in cohesion with the clean break memo, right? It's all working together to destabilize people that are around the occupation and allow for the occupation to expand and take more land, take more resources, take more control of the situation so that they are better suited to, negotiate towards like just full takeover. Like it puts them in a position of power when they're able to occupy more land.
Yeah, 100%. So they got busted with British making fake beheading videos. They got busted. Basically, they found an ISIS social media account coming from inside Parliament. They've had social media accounts for ISIS found in Tel Aviv. All right. Again, Al-Qaeda, ISIS accidentally attacks Israel. They issue an apology for doing it. And then there's all talk about what ISIS actually stands for, which is Israeli Secret Intelligence Service.
Ooh, shit.
It's crazy. Funding from Hamas. They've talked about that. We got funding from Hamas going on there.
Have you heard the 60 Minutes interview where a guy from Mossad went on and said, quote, "We create a pretend world. We are a global production company. We write the screenplay. We're the directors. We're the producers. We're the main actors, and the world is our stage." Bro is dressed like an earthworm. You know what I mean? And he's saying this type of shit.
And that gets into something I've been talking about, how the Federal Reserve funds the false reality that is projected onto God's reality. So whenever you go, that doesn't make sense. And that fits into the episode we just dropped about them trying to corrupt, eons old archetypes. That's what woke is all about. Waif models beating up everybody. And we're going, that doesn't make any sense. That's done on purpose. Hamas funding through Qatar. We just already talked about that. I mean, Netanyahu's been busted paying ISIS to masquerade as Hamas to cause chaos in the Gaza. I mean, it's all manufactured. None of it is real.
Yes, and ISIS even came out with a statement where they were like, "We think that Hamas is our enemies now, actually. Like, we've always been ideologically opposed to them." They're even admitting that they have the same goals, stated intentions as Israel. You know what I mean? Like, they're clearly working together. And they're also working towards, like, this same project of destabilizing so that Israel can swoop in and take more land. That's why the head of ISIS is now the president of Syria, and Syria has also capitulated to the Israeli occupation, allowed them to take land, allowed them to bomb central Damascus with no response, nothing, right? Bro, Assad used to shoot down Israeli fighter jets. You could not fly over Syrian airspace as they are right now. And there was an Israeli pilot who actually laid out how this toppling of Bashar al-Assad was so beneficial for the Israeli Air Force, which is actually all they have, right? Because if you're talking about ground combat, bro, they're getting murked by Palestinian resistance. They could not take any towns in Lebanon. They were repelled. They're not meant for fighting hand-to-hand combat. There are Palestinian resistance members.
Americans.
Bro, there are Palestinian resistance members who are hand delivering bombs, dropping them directly into the tanks. And so these fucking people are not built for that, but they have superior Air Force abilities. And so that's what has benefited from the toppling of Bashar al-Assad is that now there is no Syrian Air Force. There's no ability to shoot down Israeli fighter jets. And Israelis are now able to use Syrian airspace to launch attacks against Iraq and against Iran. They're able to get there quicker and also use it is a launching pad for these regional wars that they're trying to inflame.
Yeah, and so a long time ago, one of the earlier shows we had done, we had broken down why Israel was selling the rights to Syria way before they even had it. They were selling the rights, the rights to oil in Syria because they wanted to be able to get oil from Qatar to the Mediterranean Sea. So to do that, you had to go through Syria. And the reason that was really hard is because Syria was allies with Russia. And if that pipeline actually happens, Russia is fucked. They're going to take oil from Qatar and not from Russia. So Russia was always backing up Assad. Well, lo and behold, what happens there? War in Ukraine. Ukraine war, Russia focused on that because they don't want these biolabs and they want to take back their territories that they lost with the fall of the USSR. So now that, Putin's focused on the Ukraine and taking heavy losses there, they were able to go in and take out Assad, and that's why Assad was dethroned because he didn't have the backing of Russia to stabilize that country. And now that pipeline will most likely go through, and that's a big part of why they want Gaza too. Is the Ben Gurion Canal, which is supposed to go right through the middle of Gaza.
Yeah, and also Bashar al-Assad had been suffering this internal turmoil built by the CIA for like 14 years, right? The country was ravaged by sanctions. And so it created this space where Bashar did not have the type of ground support that he once did. And so, ISIS, Al Qaeda ran through and managed to take over, which is like a success of the CIA after, over a decade of destabilization.
So,
and
no, 100%. 100%. So this is all, and I have my own theories about the Greater Israel Project. I've said it on Broken Sim. I think they're going to flip populations, dude. Because that territory is so big. Johnny thinks it's crazy, and that's fine.
It's an extreme view. Yeah.
What do you mean they're going to flip populations? What does that mean to you?
I think they're going to flood Europe like they are right now. With all
Israelis are already leaving, dog. Israelis are fleeing so quickly. There's like over like 100,000 or so that have already fled to Cyprus.
Yeah,
right?
Cyprus is having real problems right now, and they're talking like that all their major power points in their country are starting to be bought up by Israelis.
Yes. But you were talking about all everybody going to Israel.
So my theory is this, and it's a crazy download I got, and but it's like I think they're going to flip the populations of the Middle East, or at least the populations of the Greater Israel Project and Europe. I think they're going to.
I think they're just going to go back to Florida because they're like, I'm sick of being sunburned.
But what I'm talking about is their ability to control that giant landmass that is the Greater Israel Project. That is a huge, huge landmass. There's not enough Jews or Zionists in the world to be able to grow. So you're going to need a population that is controllable in there. Get all the Europeans over there. It's going to be white flight, dude. They're going to all over.
It's already happening. Over 1 million settlers have already left Palestine since October 2023.
But but you're not hearing what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they're going to move the Europeans over to the Greater Israel Project.
He's talking about more people going to Israel.
I'm not.
They're trying to recruit people from Europe to come and occupy Palestine. Yeah. Absolutely, that's happening right now.
The Greater Israel Project.
But you mean just all of Europe?
Did you see that whole fiasco in Amsterdam?
No.
Okay, so there's a hooligan soccer league of like a group called the Maccabees, right? And they go various like town to town and they start riots basically. These are Israeli fascist supporters. And in Amsterdam, they were met by a little bit of resistance, and many of them got their ass beat. They got thrown into a canal, and the Israeli government made it this like huge deal where they sent like an airlift team, and they put out press releases where they're like mass anti-Semitism. And it's like, meanwhile, they started a fight and they lost. And, they're used to just like beating up children. So that's why it was upsetting for them.
You're totally 100% right. The minute they actually have an equal footing in terms of who they're fighting, they get their asses kicked all the time. It's like when they take on people throwing stones, they do well. When they're met with equal weaponry, they lose every time, because it's not just an army of people who want to join. Everyone has to join the army, and therefore the population doesn't want their kids to fight, so they want dumb goy from America to go over there and fucking fight for them. That's exactly what's going on. So the final thing I want to talk to you about as we wrap it up is the Nelk boys. Which seemed like a hostage situation to me, decided to have Netanyahu on, and they immediately realized they had fucked up, and they tried to do a counter to it, and they just invited everyone in to kick their little fucking Jew dicks in, because, and the reason I say that is because you listen to they talk like this. Hey man, hey Nick.
Well, dude, at this point, it feels like they have a shame kink. Like I don't understand why they would agree to that. They even exposed that it was the White House press, like comms people, who reached out to them and tried to set it up. And so that just shows you that like Israel is an extension of U.S. imperialism. It is a proxy for the United States in the Middle East. And it's all like, that's why we're seeing the Ukraine as well. That's a proxy for the United States against Russia. That's why we're seeing the inflammation of Taiwan. That's a proxy for the United States against China. Like the United States is always fighting proxy wars and also always fighting wars.
Yeah. And, what we're seeing right now is this unmasking of why are some people big? Why have they reached a certain level of internet fame? And you don't understand whether it's Lex Friedman or Jordan Peterson or Ben Shapiro or these Nelk boys. Now, before this, I didn't have any problems with the Nelk boys. And I would probably tell you, if I had to guess, there's a lot of internal pressure on them from probably their parents, one of their guys' father was a lawyer for a guy, I think, who got busted in spying for Israel. So there's probably a lot of internal pressure to make this happen. And also, when you're given the keys to the kingdom and YouTube or whatever platform is giving you all the reach on there, that's done on purpose for these moments. By the way, these are the moments they blow you up. They give you the cash, they give you the prizes, and then when it's time, they need you. And it doesn't matter if it completely blows up your base, like what we've seen with Ben Shapiro. You have to toe this line.
I didn't know who. Do you know who they are? Actually?
Yeah, they were huge.
But what I'm asking you, what is their base? Okay, so I'm curious about them.
They started off like just pranking people, prank shows, vlogging, kind of stupid shit that they kind of do. And then
Netanyahu's on that. So
yes,
crazy.
and then it went from vlogging kind of got boring, and then pranking kind of got boring. Just like everybody, they started a podcast, they started getting big names. And then eventually you get hit up by Netanyahu, and you don't know. How,
naturally.
Well, they were.
That feels like we've skipped a few steps, but yes, absolutely. That feels like the underwear gnomes thing, where it's like step one, make print.
I mean, they did go to the UFC. They've had Dana White on. They had Trump. I mean, it was gradually.
Dana White
they've had like large right wing figures that have established their brand, and that's what the Zionists do, right? The Zionists build up brands, they build up platforms, and then they use them. What would be the point of building up this huge platform if you never took use of it?
Yes.
And so that's what Mossad has done. They've built this platform through like the Nelk Boys, through, Mr. Beast, all of these people.
We've got to get a state behind us. What state can we get behind?
Dude. We're good. I like where we are. I'd like to get some more love on YouTube. That's about
Switzerland, maybe Luxembourg. Is Luxembourg chill?
I mean, dude, if we can get Costa Rica
Belgium,
or Brazil, they got fat asses.
Netherlands.
We just want to get paid in fat ass.
Brazil? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
That's a big country, dude.
Aaron Cater's joke is, if you want to talk about the chosen people, it's Brazilians. Have you seen their asses, dude? They're phenomenal.
Turks and Caicos.
But these are the moments that they blow you up for. It's like Ben Shapiro was cooking with gas when he was curb stomping blue-haired non-binaries on campus. But the minute that the discussion shift and he went from authentic, which is, hey, you're a blue-haired retard, to oh man, he literally said that Christians in Syria are probably going to die, and that's a good thing.
He's an idiot.
Yeah. They build up fascist platforms so that they can then operate and send messaging out through them.
Yeah.
It's a part of this global operation to influence public opinion, which is called Hasbra. It's an informational warfare tactic. Unit 8200 is a part of it. It's control of it. And now they have their hands in every single major media outlet, New York Times, Meta, Apple. They're everywhere. And so that's why my account disappeared. That's why Palestinians on the ground, their account disappears all the time. And it's why there's this overwhelming narrative online. But then when you start talking to real people offline, you realize that shit is all make believe.
Yeah. I mean, internet is make believe. It's not real. Yeah. It's meant to demoralize you. Look at all these chicks having fun. You're like, I'm not having fun, and it's meant to be. So the question becomes the Nelk boys, I don't know how they survived this. I mean, they were just getting their asses kicked in the comment section. And they literally said, it was like having the modern day Hitler on. I mean, that's fucking huge, dude.
You know what's funny? They said they had a bunch of HR there. And I was like, no, you had Mossad there.
Yeah,
100%. You literally had FBI there. You did not have someone. They were all checked.
And now they've come out that it's completely scripted.
What is scripted? The interview was scripted?
They were given,
and that's crazy because they still sound super dumb.
You could tell they were reading the questions.
You think they went to AI? No, make it dumber. Make the questions dumber.
They look ridiculous.
Dude, their fact sheets come with pictures, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, this would never happen. Like, let's say Netanyahu asked to come on my We Don't Smoke the Same show. I'd be calling up people on how to interview them. on how to go on with this interview.
You guys would have him on? Why wouldn't you just say no?
I probably would say no. I would. The answer would, everybody would tell me say no. But even if I did, I would want to hit up some people that know how I should navigate this interview. You get what I'm trying to say?
Saying XG
is I would call someone like
you and your Latino show have the modern day Hitler. And you might press him a little bit. The guy who's killed people with his own hands. You're like, yeah, I'm going to ask him about like, why can't the Palestinians
all I'm
just
saying,
chill?
if I would get that email or whatever, hey, we're trying to grow our audience, I would at least be like, oh, let me hit up the guys from Breaking Points, Sagar, ask them, hey, I'm about to have this guy on. What should?
I would do the Piers Morgan thing where you just drop somebody else in.
Or maybe, yeah. What I'm trying to say is like, you should, I mean, if you get the opportunity, I'm not saying you shouldn't say no, but you shouldn't go in there with.
You should 100% say no.
You would say no.
Yeah,
you would say no.
You should say
to
no.
Netanyahu on this show, he will never see the.
We had a disagreement about this on Broken Sim because I'm more inclined to agree with you, XG. I think that you sandbag the son of a bitch. You say, yeah, we'll do all these questions that
Johnny,
you want, and then you just drop Michael Schirtzer.
Homicidal master.
Unless you are inviting him in to murder him, I do not see the point.
I don't see how you guys think you could get away with that.
I think what happens is he comes in. And then you ambush him, and he leaves immediately. But he ends up looking like a fool.
No, but
you have
Johnny,
the footage.
They don't like being
Nobody
made
cares.
I know.
look bad.
It's a risk, dude. Yeah, but
We're live. We're live.
You and your fucking family, dude.
Interviewing evil people.
You guys are nuts.
No, dude. Interviewing the bad guys used to be called journalism. That used to be a real thing.
Johnny, are we journalists?
I think
you might be a journalist. I'm functionally retarded.
I spent most of my professional life as a
right.
journalist. Yeah.
I mean, like, here's the whole thing. It's like, yeah, I mean, if you could have like a leader of, let's say, the guy from Argentina or Venezuela, who's the guy who's doing all the great stuff, even though he just sold their water to Israel, it's fucking nuts.
Their water, really?
Yeah, their water supply.
The water is the next big thing. Yeah,
he sold it to Israel.
Great. Wow.
It's unbelievable. Anyways, let's say he's a fun version of him. Yeah, we could have him on with his crazy hair talking about libertarianism.
I just think about all the journalists that would have loved an opportunity to get one real question in front of this fucking guy.
Right,
you know what I mean?
But like that's I don't know. That's just a different thing.
Yeah, okay. I mean, we disagree. That's all right.
I mean, like, I'm first of all,
I'm not saying, to be clear, it's not where you let him do his thing and do his whole spiel.
I have no desire to ever have that guy on the show.
Well, I mean, he ain't coming on here. We know that. But I'm just saying that by some miracle that he was like, yes, I will come to, to the valley.
I'll come to Full House. I will let you ask any question that I pre-wrote for you.
And then you just ambush him, and he embarrasses himself and walks out in a huff, and then you have to fight over them destroying the footage.
I don't think you get within an inch of that guy if you're going to ask any real questions.
I think you're right.
That.
Yeah, no. But in the hypothetical where we did, I would try to ambush him. I wouldn't say no.
I would try and ambush him too, but not with a question.
Yeah, I think
fair enough, man.
I think even Joe Rogan, who is always the alpha in the room, would be really nervous about.
I mean, there's a guy who's had some people on that have,
Yeah, but
they're known for killing people, so it's kind of like
it's a risk. Yeah, it's
like
a risk.
Nobody else at all. Maybe Putin's like that. Maybe,
dude.
I mean, journalists went and, well, he's a...
That's why I cut Malala some slack, because it took her a while to get on board with Palestine. Like a couple years in, she was like, oh, actually, this is really bad. But people don't realize, like, dude, she's been shot in the face, Yes. And this is a group of people who really love to shoot people in the face. Yeah. So I understand her trepidation.
They would they kill their own in the mass Hannibal directive. Yeah. Why would they do it to you?
Yeah,
and maybe it's not instantaneously either, because then they don't want to get blamed for it. Maybe
they give you the cancer injection. Or
they
whatever,
give you something.
You get
some car happens, something, you get robbed, you get stabbed. Yeah, dude. It's like, the question I want to end on is this. Do we have any faith in anybody stopping this? Like, it seems like China is starting to gear up going, this has got to end. And you need a superpower like that. And Iran knows if they go in by themselves, it's going to be something. But seems like China and Russia's interesting because they want to build that pipeline that is going to fuck your economy. And that's something Tucker was talking about how the Russian economy wasn't what they thought it was. and it was a lot stronger than they thought. And they didn't anticipate that when they started the Ukrainian war. But Russia's in deep shit if that pipeline comes through. So my question is, like, how long can these people sit around and allow the United States to fund this shit?
Yeah, I think the posturing from China is largely political because they're still doing energy deals. They still have like an open embassy and political relationship with Israel. And so I feel like even though they like airdropped some aid, China's not really. And also, there was a Hague group that just met, and 12 countries took actionable steps that include sanctions and cutting ties and stuff. And China was not one of them. So I think that like you're seeing that sort of rumbling from China so that they can pretend like they're on the right side, but they're still very much embroiled in it as well. But you're seeing actual resistance coming from Palestine, right? The Palestinian resistance factions that exist in Gaza and the West Bank. And then you're also seeing Hezbollah as well take on some of the load. The Yemeni Ansar Allah, the government of Yemen,
the Houthis are heroes.
They're getting busy on these Israeli settlers, right? They're bombing central Tel Aviv, and they're also closing down the Red Sea and defeating the U.S. Navy, forcing the Navy to retreat multiple times. They're sinking U.S. carriers. The United States has lost multiple fighter jets because they've either been shot down by Ansar Allah or allegedly they fell off the back of a carrier. That's what the U.S. government actually wants you to believe.
Good point. Oh yeah, it just fell off. You're like, I got shot down.
Classic fighter jet just falling off a carrier.
Did you say they sunk a carrier?
They've sunk a few I don't think they sunk a carrier, but they have engaged a carrier and hit fighter jets.
Here's the hard part, because those are American lives, and you get really sad about that. It's really sad that we lose men and women like that.
Yes.
But again, it's like I don't want any American lives to die. But like what is going on in Palestine is unimaginable. At some point, you have to go, we're the bad guys.
Yeah,
I don't want
the United
any
States
Americans
is
to
responsible for this genocide. The United States is responsible for this Holocaust in Palestine. If it was not for the weaponry of the United States that is still being sent over to occupied Palestine right now, this whole thing would be done, right? The Palestinian resistance could handle Israelis if there was no resupply. But because there is a constant flow of weapons from the United States, it's happening right before our eyes. And virtually nobody is trying to stop it, like from the inside. There's a few groups that are in the imperial core that are taking action to do it. One is called Palestine Action. It's a group in the UK largely, but also has expanded to the United States. And they go into weapons manufacturers and they destroy the weapons. They do not allow the weapons to be sent, right? They were just proscribed as a terrorist group by the UK government quite recently. So now like support for Palestine Action can get you arrested. And they even dragged away this like elderly lady who just had a sign that said like, I support Palestine Action. So the imagery coming out is like super preposterous right now because it's like elderly people trying to stop a genocide being arrested while the government that's arresting them is doing a Holocaust.
And IDF soldiers are being arrested around the world.
Yes, the Hind Rajab Foundation is launching cases against all of the soldiers of the occupation army who were responsible for war crimes, who were carrying out war crimes on the ground day by day. Because it's not just the people at the top, right? Like Netanyahu is the guy telling people to do war crimes, but there are people who are actually pulling the trigger and pressing the button, and those people are responsible also.
Well, Michael, this has been a great episode. It couldn't have happened at a better time with the Nelk boys.
Dude, thank you so much for having me. The Israelis are trying to make my life so difficult, bro. They have actually reached out to every major comedy club in Los Angeles trying to make sure I don't get booked there. And jokes on them, I already don't get booked there. So.
Well, we loved it, dude. Great episode. One more time, tell them where they can find you.
So check me out on TikTok at MikeyB_on, like Mikey B on TikTok. And then also check us out on the Palestine Pod, PalestinePod.com. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate you.
All right, what'd you guys think of Michael Schirtzer?
I better be on the lookout for my social media. It might be deleted after this episode.
I know you go hard in the paint on the Zionists. You're either talking about lowriders or EDM concerts or Zionists.
One or the other.
Yeah, you go hard in the paint. Yeah, I mean, like, everyone's losing their mind about Stephen Colbert getting canceled, but no one seems to care when people are trying to push back on genocide.
Truly.
Are saying something. It's like unbelievable the mental gymnastics that's done on everybody. It's just like, okay, if Michael was losing $40 million for Instagram, I could understand why they wanted to delete his account, but he's not. He's just talking about women and children dying and how there's a bunch of people out there that their programming is overriding their natural instinct to protect children at all costs and stop unnecessary murder that is basically being done for bankers to make money. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
They seem to go harder too on Jews who kind of leave the flock, you know?
Oh, yeah. They hate that shit.
It's kind of like being in the mafia, you know? Once you're in, you know?
And the Jews who do go against the Zionist narrative first of all, they get bombarded. They're called Jew haters. And second of all, then they have to they're constantly called in to push back against Zion. And like everyone wants them because
self-loathing Jews. That's the line.
Yeah, and well, they're because it takes away the ability for the other side to just say you hate Jews, and they're like, "Well, I am a Jew," and then that gets them even more mad.
Black conservatives
because they can't use that card, right? Oh yeah, you're an Uncle Tom.
Yeah,
you know, and it's just like, no, dude, I just see what's going on, and again, you're just fighting programming, and it sucks.
And obviously, we agree there's no way the Nelk boys are coming back. Like, there's nothing they could do to bring that base back.
I wouldn't be surprised.
They'll keep pumping their shit.
I mean, they're going to take a hit for sure.
Absolutely.
How many people stay with them? I don't know. And if it gets worse and worse, that episode's going to look worse and worse.
No, the comments are horrible. It's one of those things. I'm a comment guy. I'll go watch a video just to go read the comments.
I love the comments.
They're getting their dicks kicked in by the
Dude, I love when any of these Zionists tweet something and you just go into the comment section and they just get their dicks kicked in. It's the best. What's the girl that looks like the guy from Shall We Play a Game? What's her name? Jigsaw? What's her name? The female, she was just on Patrick Bet David. She does it all the time. Laura Loomer.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. You want to have a good laugh? Go to Laura Loomer comment section. She just gets annihilated.
What do you think? How does she rationalize? Does she think
because she's paid to do it?
Bots or whatever.
You know, Tim Dillon really threw her under the bus when he's like, "Yeah, Palantir keeps asking me to go to dinner with them."
That was funny,
right? And you know, he's like, "Listen, look how sweaty I am. Do you know how sweaty?" This is Peter Thiel talking, like Tim Dillon, like, "Hey, look how sweaty I am because I'm just banging twinks left and right. You want some top shelf twink ass? Just start talking about how Palantir's the best."
Did you see the video of it's that genre we see now where it's like it's a sketch where a couple of guys are pretending to be preparing Peter Thiel for that interview, where he like stammers on the question of should humanity survive, right? And then it's hilarious, dude, because they're like, all right, we're almost done here, we're out of it, and then he asks the question and they're like, what the fuck? Come on, Peter. So funny.
Peter Thiel lecturing anybody on Christianity is laughable.
It is really curious.